About to go deep with Dan Good.
Bobby, what's been going on?
Hello. It's been so long.
I know.
This is exciting.
Can you remember the last time?
We were acting together.
We were acting. We were doing something else too while we were acting.
But that was acting.
It was acting.
Let's just I would have to say up there on the top 3 on-set kisses.
Oh, top 3. Okay, I'll take that.
It was memorable.
Yeah, top 3. Geez, now I want to be the number 1. I mean, what do I got to do?
What's a man got to do?
Yes, last time we that would have been what, 2014 maybe?
I think it was around then.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blur.
It a little bit is, yeah. So we, for those who don't know, because you probably don't, we did a film together, a short film back in the day, and it was called I Adore You. And I played a little your toy boy bit on the side, and got snapped out in the hotel room, didn't we, by your husband and his little fling on the side.
Yes.
Interesting movie,
it was
that
fun.
one. Yeah. I kind of vaguely remember you asking the director to have a few more takes. I don't know.
No. I said I need more rehearsal time.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, okay. That's fair. It was a good time. It was funny.
Yeah, it was fun.
I was only probably a few years into the game, I think, at that point too. So there were some interesting roles coming my way pretty quickly. They were quite often in that regard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Hey, you take the good with the bad. So cheers to you anyway.
Cheers.
Now,
old friends.
Yes, that's right. Catching up. We have a rather large glass of red wine in front of us. And
it's going to be a long afternoon.
Yeah, it's not. We're not alcoholics. It's just I don't want to keep filling it up, okay? We all know what happens when that happens and I have to get up. I've knocked bottles over before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
speaking from experience.
Yeah. We're learning. It's a learning curve every time and we're making it better.
Sure.
So what have you been up to? When I met you then, you were in front of camera. You were doing a lot of acting, and now it looks like for a long time you've been doing a lot behind camera. So what's been happening?
I have always had this parallel love.
Yeah.
So ever since high school, I've done acting and film and TV.
Yeah.
And I'd concentrate a little bit in the acting world, and then I'd go over to the film and TV world. And I was just someone who just really loved to be in the I just knew from the age of 6 I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. Didn't exactly know what.
Yeah.
Like I was a dancer and a gymnast, like pretty top level competing stuff. And then I had an injury when I was 13 and I couldn't dance anymore. It was devastating.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Especially like young, like it could be your identity, right? If you're dancing that, because I know it's obviously a rigorous competitive thing too.
Yeah.
Dancing and gymnastics,
training
all the time.
7 days a week. Sometimes I'd go from dance to gymnastics. And I was pretty devastated because I was like, I'm going to be a gymnast, an Olympian gymnast. It's like, I ended up coaching gymnastics to get me through like uni, which is better than working at Pizza Hut.
Yeah. I would agree on that one.
Yeah. And then I guess I went into more singing and acting, like stuff that I could do that wasn't so physical. Yeah. I mean, like the shelf life of a gymnast is around 13 to 16 anyway.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
As well, I mean, like the Olympics has just been on at the moment and they are very young, the ones that are going. It's crazy the things they can do on those beams and they're flipping in the air and just landing on that tiny little balance beam or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Full on.
It's intense to watch. Yeah. You're like, when they go up in the air and do the little flips and stuff like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But so you did that, you got your injury and.
Yeah. So I went into singing and acting and I ended up doing, it's kind of, this parallel thing's been working all the way through. I did 1 year of an acting degree.
Yeah.
So I got a really good, this is how old I am, right? TE score. What is that? People say. Anyway, I got a really good TE score. And I said, hey, Dad, I want to be an actor. And he said, you don't need brains to be an actor. Choose something else. So like I got into law and then one of my blessed good friends said, you will be so bored.
Yeah.
So they talked me out of it and I went into acting anyway. Anyway, that didn't last long. It's a long story. But so I was pretty young. It was like my first year out of away from my parents, right?
Yeah.
So it was like freedom. And I spent the year basically on the back of a motorbike smoking dope. Had a great time. Was
Sounds
awesome.
fantastic.
But, studies wasn't top of my priority.
Yeah.
Plus also, there's a little bit of tragedy behind that. At the time, my grandfather got cancer and right around our exam times, just keeps flipping off. Okay, I'll put it there.
Can tighten it up, but I don't have stretchy arms right here. Yeah,
that's all right.
You can stretch. Yeah, that should help.
Around about my exam times when I should have been studying stuff, I kept on getting phone calls saying, "Oh, Bobbi, you better come and see your grandfather." It was end stage. But his heart was really strong and he just kept on going on. And it's I'd stay there for 3 days, then I'd drive 3.5 hours back to where my uni was.
Yeah.
And it just didn't, I was failing stuff. So I got kicked out.
No.
I did.
You bad girl.
I got kicked out of uni. I did not sing, dance or act for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
After that, I was devastated.
Because you got kicked out.
Yeah. It was really brutal. You'd go into this room, this great big hall, and there was a long table with all the heads of department.
Yeah.
And then one chair in front of all this table and a box of tissues.
Oh, no.
And they would do a process they'd start with probably 24 to 28 students, and by the end of third year, they'd end up with 5 to 7. So along the lines, they'd cull. And I was just too young to know really what was going on. And I just took it really personally, you can't act, you're a bad actor. And so I did nothing. And I took a year off, and then I went and did a film and TV degree. So that's where that started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went and moved to Sydney and tried to get a job as an editor. That's what I kind of specialised in.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find a job. And the reason is when you do a production, there's crewing agencies for directors and gaffers.
Yeah.
But not editors, because the editors are at the post-production houses with full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Cushy full-time jobs. They're not leaving. So there wasn't a lot of
it's not a lot of room there. Yeah.
And because I was in Sydney, I had no networks and I was so young. I didn't know anything about the industry. I just knew how to edit. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I ended up in multimedia land as a web designer because some of my friends got me a job in where they were working, and that's so I learned.
So you got the introduction,
Yeah. And I did work for a little stint on the TVSN, the shopping channel?
TVSN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an avid watcher, but I know it.
Yeah. So I would either do editing of the promos, or I'd be a vision switcher, which is late at night. I'd bring in my guitar. I'd press a button waiting for the ads, and then I'd update the ads that'd go to screen and make sure that all the channels were going to Asia, and just making sure everything's on board.
Yeah.
So that's the only kind of stuff I did. And then my mum got sick and I moved back home to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And she unfortunately passed away from cancer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I looked after my dad for a while and stayed there. And then after 6 months, I thought, oh, this time. And I really do like this acting thing.
Yeah.
And when I was in Sydney, I started doing dance classes again, just at Sydney Dance Company have outside classes, and Australian Theatre for Young People have public music theatre classes and acting classes. So kind of on the side, I was dabbling again.
Yeah.
And then when it was time to decide I've got to do something else with my life, I thought I'm going to do a music theatre course. Why not?
Sort of going back to your old roots a little bit then, right?
Yeah. So I went up to Mackay, which is the Conservatorium of Music,
yeah.
Central Queensland Conservatorium of Music, did a music theatre degree, had a lot of fun. It was an amazing experience. Took me about 1.5 years to get used to living in Mackay.
Yeah. Was it so hot? Or?
It was really hot and sweaty, but it's a little town. You know, I was living in Sydney, you know. It'd take me an adjustment, it'd take me 1.5 hours to get to work. Two trains, a bus and a walk in Sydney.
Because you lived quite rural? Or?
No, in No,
Sydney.
In Sydney, I just lived on the wrong side of the bridge, you know. But in Mackay, I just kept on going, what am I doing here? Yeah. But I had a great time.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Melbourne because I thought that's more cultural. I've been to Sydney, didn't really like it. It was a bit of a rat race to me, a concrete jungle.
What I keep hearing,
I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But Melbourne is very cultural. There's something happening all the time. There's lots of just random architecture and statues. And because of the trams, the roads are wide, so you feel like you've got more space.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah.
And so I started doing music theatre. Seems like every second town had a music theatre company, and everyone would just like do a show there and then go to the next one and do a show there. And that's what I did. But that was, in your own time because it's pro-am, so maybe sometimes the leads get paid, but the chorus is not. It's volunteer.
Doing it for experience, yeah.
Yeah. But it takes 4 months to put on a musical because you've got to learn the singing, the dancing,
and the rehearsals.
Yeah. And so then my sister got sick. I know. Been very unlucky family. Yeah. So I moved back home, deja vu. And she had a little girl, 4 years old. And so I stayed and looked after her. Yeah. And moved in with Dad and thought, oh, my God, I'm in Brisbane. What am I going to do with my life? I'm not, at that stage, Brisbane was a little bit too small for me. I wanted to go to America. Yeah, that was my thing. Yeah. Because it's kind of changing now because of COVID, but we'll get there. Yeah. There wasn't really an industry in Australia, and I wanted to live somewhere where there was an industry and where it's okay to say I'm an actor. Yeah. It's a valid, occupation. Yeah. So anyway, I just thought, well, I'm in Brisbane for a while. What am I going to do? And so that's when I decided to do my master's in film, in screen production. Yeah. So that's how that happened. And I started doing a lot of short films as an actor because I could do so many short films in such a short little time as opposed to one musical theatre piece, which is 4 months of my life.
A lot of commitment time.
Yeah. And I found at that time I also did end up going overseas for about 3 months, and I did an acting course. Okay. It was amazing.
Whereabouts was that?
In LA.
Okay. Oh, yes, you got to America then.
I got to America, so I stayed there for about 3 months. Yeah. And, the Australian Film, Television, Radio, no, it's not AFTRS. It was the Film, Television, John Orchick is the director of it.
Yes. Yes, I do. I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. Yeah. And is his daughter Jess, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry.
Australian Film and Television
School Academy.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think I was going to do it at one point, yeah.
Oh, it was awesome. And I actually looked after their website for a little while. So I would trade in my hours as a web designer to do some acting courses. And anyway, this opportunity came up overseas going with a whole bunch of people. Yeah. So probably 16 of us or something like that. So we would be staying in the same place together. We'd be going to these acting classes together. And it was amazing because I didn't feel lost. Yeah. I was very supported and very comfortable and very safe.
Your little family there, yeah.
Yeah. So it was just an amazing experience. And the thing that I got out of that was you tweak your acting over there as to what channel you're going to be on.
Yeah, wow, okay.
And
different
that's
networks,
just not heard of in Australia. Like there's one acting technique in Australia, that's it. But if you're hooker, right? Yeah. On one channel, even, NCIS, there's 3 different shows. There's Miami, New York, and
I think there might be more now, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you actually look at it from a film and
there might be Law and Order. I don't know, those ones. They make so many of them, yeah.
Rebooted. Yeah. But they're all set in Las Vegas. They're all set in different places, right? Yeah. So if you look at the color palette, if this is a film, production thing, they're different. Like the New York one is like blues and reds of the police sirens and stuff. The Miami one is orange tinge.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Las Vegas is a different color again.
Yeah, right.
And if you're a hooker in New York, you would dress differently if you're a hooker in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So even just going for an audition, you would dress differently.
Yeah.
Like that's how...
Because of like the clientele wanting a certain thing, or the seasonal sort of way of, because obviously New York gets cold. Las Vegas is a very humid heat if you haven't been there. Yeah, it's intense,
I think it's a different lifestyle, a different sensibility.
For sure,
But also if you're, say you're ending a scene and you have a fight, right? And you're doing a HBO show, it's very edgy. But if you're doing a Disney show and you have the same fight, you would act differently. You would end it differently.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so...
From an editing perspective?
No, from an acting perspective.
Okay, yeah.
Because Disney, you kind of always got a smile on your face, even if you're having a fight.
I don't know if there would really be too many fights in Disney, but
exactly.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And why do you... So that's to appease to the networks, the way they're creating their shows? Or?
Yeah, because they're different audiences. It's a business over there. And they have different clientele. You know, when you talk about marketing and the customer avatar, a Disney audience is different from an HBO audience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That word edgy, yeah.
So that's what I found fascinating.
Yeah, okay. I've never heard of that. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So then I went to New York, bummed around for a while just as a tourist. It was amazing. I couldn't, if you ever go over there, there's something called Greyhound Tours, and you get like a weekly pass and you can get to every tourist attraction on this one pass.
Yeah, I hear the Greyhound tour. The buses are the dodgy ones.
Grey Line or something.
Yeah,
no,
Greyhound. Yeah, that's the one, the American podcast that I always listen to. They're like Greyhound, like people be pissing in the aisleways and stuff like that.
Oh,
apparently it's the real dodgy ones to go on. No. I mean, this is now. I don't know what it was then. You know, maybe there wasn't so many coach lines then. But coach lines, geez, that's an old school word.
So it went to 4 boroughs. So you'd go. Basically what I did, because I was by myself by this time, I just did the whole tour and look at the map, and it'd give me an idea of where everything was, and then I'd go, okay, I'll go back there. Yeah. But it just gave you a really good overview of the city and your bearings. Yeah. So I found those
around,
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So okay, so you did you're studying over there. You've already done a year in film at one point, and then you did another course, when you came back here to Brisbane. Yeah,
well, I started my master's in screen production at Griffith.
Yeah.
And I had just gone overseas, like just come back from that overseas trip, and I got a lot of acting gigs. I can't even fathom how I did it, but I did about 14 short films in half a year.
Yeah.
And
jeez, that's pumping them out.
Yeah. I know. It was one stage where I think it was ASIN Awards. There was some awards. Someone said, something that Bobbi's in is going to win, because statistically there was like 4.
She was in almost everything.
4 short films that were like in the finals kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to get really good results at uni because I'm probably going to do a PhD. So I needed to keep my GPA up. And because I was doing all these acting short films, I wasn't really getting any work done. So I deferred uni.
Yeah.
And I just did film, like acting, for 6 months. And it was amazing. And I kind of think now, what would have happened if I just kept on that? Like, I was obviously starting to be known and respected for my work.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I've started this film and TV degree, you know, I really should
finish it,
get back onto it. So that's why I ended up just going into film and TV land and leaving acting.
Yeah.
Like I do sprinkles every now and then, but it's only for short roles. It's only for a weekend kind of thing.
So when would that have been? Around that 2014 when we did I Adore You was one of those 14 that you probably did. Yeah, that seems about right. I do remember those ASIN Awards. I think that some of them that you might have been up for, or the teams that you worked with. Yeah, films. Yeah. Okay. So cool.
So, and then the reason why I started the Masters actually was as an actor to learn how to produce my own films.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the type of person that can just sit by and wait for my agent to ring.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of person.
Hear that, people?
Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to learn how to make film. I'll produce my own films. I'll put myself in the lead roles, right?
Yeah. Obviously.
Well, hell,
It makes
I'm
sense
the one
if you're
doing
doing
the
all
work.
the work. Yeah, no, I get it.
But then something happened and this documentary landed on my lap.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I went, okay.
So did you finish your film and television degree?
No, this was right at the beginning of my film.
You started to do okay, keep going. I won't interrupt.
And so I started learning about documentary and just going down that path.
Yeah.
And I've been there ever since.
Okay.
I'm still doing my documentary.
Oh, no.
One day I will finish it. Yeah.
So
it's a long slog.
What's the documentary that fell in your lap then? Because
Note to
obviously
self.
it must have been quite an like it's something to stimulate your brain, stimulate your creativity for you to, pass up what you were trying to complete.
Yeah. Well, I can't talk about it too much.
Okay.
I might be able to talk about it in a couple months. But, and this is probably why, the other reason why, you know how everybody keeps on touch on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And you know what people are doing and what roles and shows and
Yeah.
I kind of fell off Facebook for like 2 years. It's like, Bobby who, I got really sick.
Okay.
Really sick.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I got to look after me for a while.
Which is important.
Yeah. And then I thought, I'm a filmmaker now. Why don't I record myself?
Oh, okay.
What was I thinking? Yeah. So I am producing and directing and starring in a documentary feature film.
Well, you kept true to casting yourself anyway.
I know. And I thought, I'm an actor. I'm used to being in front of the camera. I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
Maybe not as yourself being sick, no.
It's different. It's really different because if you're the actor, right, so in a documentary, the producer looks after the director, right?
Yeah.
The director looks after the
film.
The participant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are they okay? Mm-hmm. But when you're all those three hats,
yeah,
who's there looking after you?
Mm-hmm.
No one.
No.
Yeah. And also, who's the one cracking the whip to keep it going and keep it on the rails? When one of those people, when they're all me, doesn't want to.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's really hard, and people would, like my supervisor would say, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to do this? And I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I'm like gung-ho. It's like, yeah, why? What? Get out of my way. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then after a while, it does get hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I had to put it back on the shelf just to look after my own mental health.
Mental health, yeah.
Yeah, and pick it back up when I feel stronger, I guess, and slowly getting a team around me, which I have now, which is great.
That is awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and so now going for funding and talking to the ABC and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at.
Okay.
Yeah, so TBC ...
So you can't really share too much more, like...
No. See, this is the thing. This is the other really, really, really hard thing is most of the people on my Facebook, which is about 5,000, are actors and filmmakers. Mm-hmm. They're my friends, colleagues, peers, right?
Network connections, yeah.
No one knows I got sick.
Yeah.
So I not only have to launch, hey, guys, this is my film, come and join me on the journey. I have to say, hey, guys, I got really sick.
Yeah, but I mean, who doesn't kind of go with that story though, I mean, they're going to understand when you were sort of disappeared, as you say, off the face of the earth, the social media verse.
Yeah.
They're going to wonder why, and then as soon as you hit them with that, then to be fair, I mean, not to use an illness as like something to get people on side of, but that if anything's going to, really get people wondering what you're up to and on your side and supporting you is something like that, not to play off of it, but, people are going to understand and then they're going to be along with the journey because, I mean, that's why it's the emotional journey of these things that people get brought into, right? And the humility into it. So I can't see why they wouldn't be on board.
I know, it's just hard. It's just hard to
sharing something so personal like that. But no, I get it.
at the end of the day, I'm making a documentary and I'm going to have to share it at some time.
And by the way, people are going to know now because we've just talked about it on the podcast.
What?
So, I mean, can you share like what illness you had, or you'd rather keep that? Yeah.
That's under wraps.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, see, I mean, I didn't know. I kept an eye. I mean, I see when you're doing projects and things like this that you're sort of working on, but it was, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From 14 films in half a year to crickets.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing though, isn't it? Looking after yourself, not just having an illness to deal with or anything, but that mental health as a performer is just. I mean, we've spoken a lot on the podcast from different things of anxiety and, depression and things like that. And a lot of things that, as a filmmaker or as an actor that you can go through. And it's a really tough time that you got to look after yourself, because if you don't look after yourself, how can you really be in the best position to create the best work, the best characters, and put on a performance? And something I found out the hard way as well, and it's just trying to balance yourself, and have those things in life that you're doing outside of what you do, because it consumes you, like
it's like your identity rather than a job.
That's the exact word for it, is that when these things can become your identity because you put them so far out there on the social media landscape all the time, is then you're so like, you're in a position where you're on that ledge, right? And you're just putting things out. But what happens when it falls away, you're left with nothing, and you haven't taken care of yourself. You haven't looked after yourself mentally or physically. And that can fall out from under you, and then you're falling, right? And then it's just, you got to pick yourself back up from there. But it's a tough scenario to go through. And it's the only way you learn, I feel, with all that, right? I mean, it's, we're all only human. We're growing. You grow with these failures, all these things that you learn as we go, and you do the best you can do. But
I think the industry is really starting to look at that now. I'm on a couple of different committees. One is WIFT, Women in Film and Television. I'm on the Queensland chapter, and there's also Queensland Screen Collective, so QSC, and that actually was born last year through COVID, because there was all these filmmakers who felt really isolated. They couldn't work.
Yeah.
So it's the same, kind of with actors and filmmakers. And I went to this talk earlier this year. It was a wellness day that MIA, Media, Entertainment, Arts and Alliance, put on. And there was someone to help to talk to us about finances, because finances also affects your mental health if you're, a struggling artist. Yeah. And then there was a psychologist talking about the creative mind. She's actually done Julie Crabtree. She's written a book called, I think it's called The Creative Mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was fascinating because she said people who are creative are actually, like, statistically more likely to have mental illness.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
I think it's because we're more empathetic. We deal with our emotions. We tap into our emotions. Whereas, like, bank tellers, but, if you're a bank teller, you're dealing with figures that are outside of a person. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very black and white. There's a lot of employment or, like, industries like that. But being a creative mind, you're more likely to go into creative industries, and then there's a whole host of. I just thought it was fascinating. It was a personality type that goes. Yeah,
it goes
to the creative.
Yeah, but I think once you're in the industry long, you kind of see that though as well. Like, you see the people that are doing these things are very. Some of the most beautiful people going around are in the industry too, but they can be the most fragile at the same time. And I wonder that's obviously where you can draw these deep wells of emotions from to portray these characters and things like that, or tap into them when you're writing them, or whatever your discipline is in the industry. And it's you can definitely start to see that once you take yourself out of it and you're not just caught up in your own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. And that's good that they're focusing on that kind of thing, because, how many of even like, you're like, say Robin Williams, for example, or all these great actors that are just like you grew up with and watching them perform, and you're like, how can a person like that end up committing suicide, But you just don't know the struggles from within.
It just happened again in the last couple of weeks?
What's that?
An actor from Home and Away, Dieter, I can't pronounce this, Dieter Brummer. He was like a heartthrob in Home and Away when I was a teenager.
Yeah, righto.
He committed suicide a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no, I didn't know
and
about that one.
And it's like COVID was the last, lockdown, Sydney. He was in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
shit.
I remember another really well-known actor who was on All Saints a few years ago. I don't know how many years ago now.
Yeah.
Same thing happened. And these are really lovely people. Like beyond that, you can kind of tell if a person, in their public life, if they're a nice person or, kind of empathetic. And they were both like great people. And it's just, you go, oh, if only I'd known. But, how can you reach out to that person if you only see them on a TV screen? Like, I don't have their number, it's like, man, that guy was a catch. Like, I wish I'd known, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's a really big focus. And in fact, just the Queensland Screen Collective have just been talking about doing a survey in the film industry, at least to start with, about mental health. Because, we have to work, actors would be the same things, but some of the film industry actually have to be on set before actors get there and leave after. So some of them do 12-hour days, some of them do more.
Oh, more than that, yeah, especially on the big studio sets. Some of them pulling 16 hours is easy.
And I actually just recently had an opportunity to associate produce a reality TV show that came in from America.
Yeah.
But when I found out what it was, 6 days, I'd have to move to where it was being filmed for a while, 6 weeks or something like that. 6 days a week, 12-hour days. I just thought I can't do that. And we've got to work out, for people who have either mental health issues, chronic illness, health issues, disability, carers, and they're filmmakers, how can we help and support them without them having to say, oh, I can't do that anymore? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm kind of in that position. Like I just know that that would not go well with my health, So that's why I'm kind of steering more into either editing, I can do that at home. I can do it in my own time. Producing, I can do it on my own time. Impact producing, marketing. Again, it's something I don't have to be on set for. And if I don't feel well that day, then that's okay. I'm going to have a lie down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of working out how it can work for me, but I can never be in those, 9 to 5 contractual jobs kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's so what you're saying that they're talking about it, so
well, we're going to do a survey first to see where the issues are. So you can't really do anything like the last, I think 2016 was the last kind of industry survey, which is kind of old.
Yeah.
And it's become more prevalent and it's becoming more in the front that people are going, yes, let's do something about it now.
Yeah, well, I think people are talking about it. I mean, every year now, it's a thing, and it was not even a thing that you would speak about in a lot of circumstances, Like I honestly swear I don't think I heard the word anxiety until I moved over into Australia.
Really?
And that was
no, that's because it was stress, and stress was good because it made you all busy and you were being productive, and it was like, how you doing? Oh my God, I'm so busy. How you doing? Oh my God, it's so stressed.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? It's very acceptable.
And that has a name, and that people. But that's what I wonder whether you address it and you give that power to that name though too over yourself. Like that's what we've spoken about a few times before, and I still do wonder that. Like it's you keep saying this thing, so it builds up even more within you anyway, even though it's probably there. And a lot of times with emotions and things like that you're not sure how to deal with, obviously confronting them as a start and then talking about them as the next step, and that can relieve it a lot or relieve it completely. But that's what everybody's different. Everybody has different levels of it, but I'm sure there's some sort of heavy medium where you can maybe find by a survey or something like that, and talking to people where you can actually understand it and think of ways to, address it and things like that. Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. You wouldn't think that I would be someone with social anxiety, right?
Yeah.
I seem pretty confident, and I used to review theatre All right. And I'd love going to the theatre, but I'd get invited to all the VIP parties afterwards, right? The food was great. Stay till the speeches, talk to some people. But I would stand there and not talk to anyone because I felt really insecure going up to say, hey, my name's Bobbi-Lea. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm reviewing the show. What did you think of it, kind of thing? So I kind of gave myself a game, and I thought, if I talk to one person tonight, then I can feel proud of myself.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and like turning up to all these events, the VIP nights, well, all the other reviewers are going to be there as well. And you start seeing the same faces in turning up. So one time I spoke to this person. The next time I spoke to that person because they were there again. And then I spoke to one more person. And then that's how it's the same with networking. This is what I did when I went into the film industry and all those I hate networking. Yeah, I hate it. Yeah. And I would just rather stay home and not go because I'd feel that anxious about it.
Yeah,
and
I understand. Yeah.
I didn't know it was anxiety. I didn't.
It was just a normal way of life, or a normal feeling for you to have. Yeah.
Yeah. And because like someone on stage singing in front of lots of people, it just didn't ever occur to me that, it was weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how I deal with networking. It's like I turn up enough, even if I don't talk to anyone. So this was at the start when I didn't know anyone, and I knew that networking was so important in the industry. Yeah. And I didn't really know what networking is. It's really making friends. That's all it is. It's not I'm going to schmooze up to that person because they'll know that you're schmoozing up to them. Do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of people that do that one too. Yeah. Let's face it. That's what makes the networking tough sometimes is you can tell people are so fake in what they're trying to do and they want to be involved in your project or whatever it is. There's a lot of that too. Yeah. But
But if you feel like it's just making friends, it's a bit easier.
Well, it definitely is that though. Yeah. Like especially genuinely, probably the ones that you're going to actually have some sort of successful working relationship with or what have you, or possibly be real friends, is the ones that you can relate to in that regard. Yeah.
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 No, so you don't, especially if it's the first time you're speaking to them, don't go and talk about your film or don't go and, it's, hey, what are you doing at the moment?
Yeah.
But it's not, can I be in on that? It's talk about
genuinely
your dog, They've got a dog, you've got a dog. Oh, my God, I've got to see a photo of your dog.
Unless you're genuinely interested in what they're doing, and like you want to know what their project, it's you find those ways to relate to them. But that social anxiety is a thing. I believe I've had it as well and still have it and still have to deal with it.
That's
surprising.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
exactly. I did. Yeah, I didn't really know overly exactly what it was. And I spoke about this literally on one podcast I did solo myself, and until I was speaking to my mum a little bit about it and stuff like that. And I didn't even really know it was a thing, you know what I mean? But it makes sense now that I've looked into it and I'm like, oh yeah, I think.
So how did it kind of manifest for you?
Well, because when I was younger, I was still in a lot of, I was into a lot of sports and stuff like that as well, in a lot of good crowds and that, but I would always step back a bit and let everyone else talk, the loud people, because you notice and sometimes when you inject yourself, you feel a bit like an idiot if you get shot down or whatever, and then you go straight back in your shell and you don't want to ever do it again for another, 10 weeks or whatever it is, and then you try again. But I didn't realize what that was until I can remember sort of a pivotal moment where I really came out of my shell and I was going for it, but it was always there, parties and things like that too. It was cool around your friends, but that's why you probably have a little bit of liquid courage. And then all of a sudden you flick that switch and you're like, the party guy, a little bit or what have you. Makes things easier to relate to people, or you forget that and your confidence goes up, and then all of a sudden it's not a thing, anymore. But I really feel like it's always been there, still there now if you let the demon come up, if you know what I mean. It's always there. And I guess when your confidence is low or things like that and certain things happen, then it probably rears its ugly head a little bit again, And I think that's just a constant thing you have to work on for yourself, and keep yourself in check, do whatever you can do, meditate, exercise, clear the mind, like it's all a way of life. But yeah, I feel like I was dealing with it for a long time, forever, and it was probably when I came over here and started, like, I found myself into the acting game, because for someone with social anxiety or anything along those lines, like I would never want to get up, and I hated speeches at school, never want to get up and that like heart through the, like, no, I'm not doing it. That was fucking worst fear ever, was that kind of public speaking or anything like that. But yeah, it was just like, I won't go into too much detail because I have spoken about this in depth by itself, but yeah, like I started working out and stuff like that when I moved over here. Like I took the chance on myself and came over here, moved over by myself, so that was a huge brave thing to do for me personally with no family over here,
Absolutely.
So I really sink or swim kind of moment, like fight or flight kind of like, let's do this, So I got into it, started working out, more confidence in myself, more belief in myself, and it just sort of flowed from there, and then fell into the acting game and then went at it. Anyone that you would ask when I was at school wouldn't have thought that I'd be doing that, acting and stuff like that. Like, what the hell, like that's a turn. And since then, and I started confronting fears as well, like skydiving, because I was like scared of heights,
See, no, I would not do that.
Oh yeah, it's great, it's fun. But just things like that, and like recently, did stand-up comedy and stuff like that as well. And that's like, from that point of like the biggest fear is going and just confronting it, you really find out something within yourself. I had to do that in my
acting course overseas.
Oh, really?
One of the last things we had to do was a 5-minute stand-up. And to me, that is worse than death. Like stand-up comedy. It's pretty hard, yeah. Oh my God.
Especially just doing it and speaking words, never alone trying to make people laugh and like you. It's the hardest thing out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know why people do it.
It is fun though. It really, when I did it, it served its purpose, if you know what I mean. I still want to do it again. Every now and then I'll have something funny happen in life and I've like think of stand-up routine and I want to go try it out at open mic night,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like for me, it was just pushing that boundary, and that fear, and just getting up and sucking it up and ballsing up and going and do the damn thing,
Yeah.
And I got a lot of confidence from it. I was like, oh yeah, because I had a position where like some stuff happened in the industry and I just fully burnt myself out, from going at it from the start, just going balls to the wall, and going fully at it. And it was my identity, it was my everything, like I just, like hang out with friends and go out a bit and stuff like that. But really I was acting all the time and that was just everything,
Yeah.
And when you put so much emotion and passion and effort into something like that, when certain things get pulled away out from under you, or you have this expectation or what have you, you got to learn to deal with that. And that's a mental health thing, too, in that regard. But yeah, it's even harder when it happens with people that you're really close with or you're friends with, and they're your circle. You know what it's like to have a film fam, like it's just a different thing. But yeah, and I just fully burnt myself out and had a real rough go of it. And it took a bit to build back up, and because I felt like I just pulled all the confidence out of me. I basically had nothing in the tank. And like in this game, self-belief and confidence is everything you got to go with. That's what draws people in. It's why you get these
resilience.
gigs.
I think that's
resilience. Yeah, and you got to have a tough skin, in this game, because you get shot down a lot. It's a part of everything that you do. You get shot down in an audition, if you don't get the role, like you got to just move on with it, leave it in the room and move on as best as you can.
That's actually what I learned from, because I was so young when I did my music theatre degree. And when you're in a degree, you're vying for the same role with all your classmates every year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the pressure is so high. It's like if you don't get those 3 parts, that's it. Do you know what I mean? And so you invest a lot into those auditions. But over the time, I learned that you just got to let it go. And someone gave some really good advice, and I can't remember who it was. But when you go do an audition, it's really good to actually go and meet a friend for coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
So you can you stop that. Oh my God, I should have done it this way. I should have said that. Why didn't I think? Do you know what I mean? And you just got to think, do you know what? There's going to be another audition next week. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine.
That's a good way to ground yourself, though, is to go back into reality, because as we know, the film industry is just like a whole other world, in itself. And to bring yourself back down nicely, because you're always buzzing when you go do something like that, right? But it's good to be able to confide in someone and bring yourself back down a little bit. But I think you honestly learn it with experience, though, anyway. You got to feel like that because you're so passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, why are you doing it, It's like so much time and effort. It's just ridiculous if you don't want it,
Yeah.
And I feel like you learn, because you get so attached to wanting that role. You get a big opportunity, in a film that, or someone, there's a star in this film and you're like, I can't believe I'm getting this audition for a bit role in this Marvel film or this, whatever the hell it is, indie film is going to be a good thing. But it's just you're always going to have that little bit God damn, imagine if I ever got that, if I got that role, where would I be now? But you got to learn to just let it flow off you, like a water on the duck's back, it's just nothing, it is what it is. But I think for the first few years, you're always going to feel that way when you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's just a natural progress.
I feel like we're old veterans.
I feel like a little bit saying it, yeah. Not even in the scheme of things, but it feels like that. But it's like you're living a different life or another lifetime. The amount of energy you put into those things, though, right?
Yeah.
That's a good method, though, I think. Talking to a friend afterwards or going out and doing something
Otherwise,
normal.
You're just going to go around and around and around and around and around in your mind.
It's like when you do a film, though, you always think and you watch it back, and some people can't even watch themselves. And that took a lot for me at the start to be so used to what you're like, oh my God, do I look like that on that angle? Do I talk like that? Is that how bad my accent is?
I didn't want to say anything.
Oh, come on now. People love this accent.
You're exotic.
But it is just it's a hard thing to come up with. But that's such a character building exercise to watch yourself and be able to critique yourself and take yourself out of yourself when you're watching something like that, because you're playing a character, even though it's elements of yourself coming through. That's a huge thing to start off with when you're first starting the game, to really critique and get better that way, because that's the only way you can get better doing it like that.
Yeah.
But it's a funny thing. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought of where we're going with that.
Let me interject with another young player story.
Do it.
So in my younger days, I had really long, beautiful blonde hair. I loved it, and it was part of my identity. I looked all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was so young and immature. It was this is my branding. I cannot play an ugly role. I called it the pretty complex.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was because some people, and it happened to that guy who played, I think it's Joffrey in Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm. Never watched it, but yeah.
Oh my God, what? Why?
I love saying that to people. I just, let's not go on a tangent. But no, okay. I've watched one or two episodes. I don't really get the hype, but I do want to watch it.
Yeah.
And I think I will like it. It's just one of those things that I was everybody watched and everybody go on about it so much. So I'm it's overhyped now. I need to let it die down, which it sort of pretty much has now. So I can watch it when I don't have so many people.
So Joffrey was, it was probably his first big break, really young.
What does he play? He
plays a not very nice character.
Okay.
Yeah. And he got so much shit from the public because they
got
can't
so attached
see
to it.
Them as you're just an actor and that's not really you. He's quit the game.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like this pretty complex. I couldn't play an ugly role or something and it's the ones that played the pretty roles, some of them are really boring to play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's the character role.
It's really generic role sometimes in the films,
So that was something that I had to get over as well. And that's just another maturing thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm drawn to play those roles that aren't necessarily what you normally want to play, though. I want to, because I was when a few years back, I was getting all those kind of the toy boy or what, the guy next door or whatever, the guy that gets his heart broken. That always seemed to be the one that I'd play, something like that, And then I started to get detective and police roles, and I liked that. I really liked that. But But like, I want to play bad guys. I want to play a serial killer. I want to play some crazy shit like that, like tap into some things that are just like deep down there maybe and see what happens, you know? Like, I think that's where you build your palette, you know, as an actor, right? Is taking on those things like that. But when you got that in your head that that's what you are, it's hard to be sometimes, like when you get those roles. Yeah, for someone young, it's something that you got to learn.
Again, it was learning to separate me from my character.
Yeah. See, I had a funny thing. Like, I was thinking about this last night. I don't know what movie I was watching really late last night, but I always used to have this thing, like, you know, it came from like, I was so like, oh, I want to look, you know, you want to look cool. You want to dress nicely. You want to, like, when you're growing up, when you're young, you try to find yourself, you know, and you want to always, like, you know, be on the level, you know, and like attract this chick or whatever, you know, whatever sex you're into or whatever, you know, but and like, I remember when I was like getting the roles and stuff, like I always thought, I was like, oh, I don't want to wear that, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, not separating myself properly from it. I was still myself and like, oh, I don't want to see people to see me in that, you know, like, or just like, I would always try to like suck up to the stylist or whatever, like, and try and, like, you know, oh, wait, wouldn't it be cool if I got this instead? Like, had
what
this
about the
accessory?
makeup person? It's like, oh my God, did you look at me? Look what they've done to me.
Oh yeah, I had some.
Will they be offended will they know if I?
Oh, I did the hair. See, the hair's always a thing for me. And if they do my hair really funny, like sometimes I used to take wax with me and like I would like fix it up. No one ever said anything, hey? Like, I think half the time that, you know, what it's like when you're in a shoestring budget and they don't want to use too much wax or use this and that because they got to finish the shoot with it. Yeah. But yeah, there's just funny things like that I remember from the start. Yeah, just like always wanted to look cool. Yeah. It's hard when you pay a guy that probably doesn't look cool generally. That's the whole idea of what you're doing. But that was a funny thing.
What's inside that counts.
Yeah, that's right. And you got to portray that on screen too.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Hey, it's such a weird thing. I mean, did you still have that like that inside you that makes you want to be acting and stuff like that and being the one on camera, you know,
totally.
like from doing a lot from behind? Because I mean, I love it too. Like I've done a lot of producing, writing, and stuff like that as well. And you learn so much more when you go behind the camera as an actor as well. And then you realize what people put up with as a director or things like this. You're like, now I get why they're kind of saying the things they're saying.
And you understand why it takes an hour and a half to put up the lights.
Yeah. Oh, I still don't even know how, you know, I'm very good with that. Like, but it's just, you realize how much actually goes into it, like behind the scenes and with everybody. And then you're so much more respectful of like the setups and things like that, you know, and it's just, you know, that's why there's like 12, 14 hour days or whatever, because it does take a long time to get the smallest amount of footage, depending obviously on what kind of budgeted set you're on, but it's just the way it is.
When I was a singer in a band, so I was in a soul band for 3 years in Sydney. And I used to think the reason why I became a singer is because I just have to carry around a microphone, that's it. You know, I don't have to be a drummer and carry around all this stuff. The setup is like, you know,
mic up
I'll see you at the bar while you're setting up, you know.
Yeah,
so you always have to, I'm not.
You thought about that before you did it.
And also the other thing is with film and TV, like I really love editing. Partly because I get to sit in a, you know, really comfy room on my butt. I don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go out on set into God knows what kind of, whether it's the mountains and it's cold or it's boiling hot or it's raining or whatever. And I don't have to be a lighting technician and deal with all the lights. So I guess I've chosen the it's really hardworking but not labour intensive. Do you know what I mean? I'm lazy like that.
You got a lot of pressure on you though too as the editor, and as the editor you can change so much about what you're doing, and that's what you like.
But see, it's like the control and the creative freedom.
Well, that's for example, I Adore You, right? Remember when we first did that film? That was a drama. That was fully written as a drama, right? Shot as a drama.
Was it?
I feel like it was with comedic elements.
Yeah.
But when the edit was done and what was done on the edit when we went to go and watch the film, it was just a full-blown like rom-com comedy. Like it was a comedy of errors. Like the whole thing, it was changed so much from the script you read, or maybe that was just my mind, perceiving it that way. But I felt like it was a pretty.
I'm a dramatic actor.
Well, it was a pretty heavy drama, like sort of orientation. There was obviously a lot of comedic moments, but I was gobsmacked when I watched it, like of how much it was changed in the edit. And it just became a full-blown comedy, like just comedy every scene. But that's something that I feel like, because the editor was a bit of a goofy guy himself, and he sort of wanted to make it that way and bring it out in it, and that's what he did with it. And I always wondered what they thought of that. The ones that wrote it, and I always wondered what they thought, because I don't know if we had a premiere in the end, because I know the leads were going out when they wrote it together and then they broke up.
I wasn't going to talk about that.
I'm going to talk about it.
I was going to say there was a lot more going on behind the scenes, and it wasn't you and me.
Life imitating art imitating life. Isn't that the thing with this industry? Yeah,
it was suppressed. That was our best work. It could have gone places.
Yeah, because it never really got put out there, right? Like
it was suppressed because someone didn't want it. Again, it's like the pretty complex. They didn't want them to be seen in a certain light.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I wish you could tell me which one you think. Because I ran into them. I've ran into them both since then.
Oh. How are they?
Oh, it was ages ago. I ran into, is it Michaela?
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, well, I will. I talk a lot, so I'm going to keep saying.
This is his show.
I ran into her in the gym. My gym ages ago. This is years and years and years ago. So not long, a few years after we did it.
Yeah.
And I think I ran into him on like a film night or something, around the traps, and then he sort of and I'm like, that makes sense. Like he told me more about what was sort of going on, and then I was like, geez, man, that's rough. Like, really got phased out a bit of it, and then it never really saw the light of day. No. I don't believe. It might have been at a festival though once. I believe it may have been.
I don't know.
I think I got a copy of it.
Really?
Have you not seen it? No. Have you not seen it at all? I believe I have a copy of it.
Oh, my God.
And I think it's because I probably shouldn't be saying this.
You can cut this bit.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now, because I did a few films with Michael afterwards. Yeah, I'll stop saying that before I dig myself in a deeper hole.
Maybe we can have a movie night later.
Yeah, I think I'll have a look for it, because I was thinking about this the other day when I hit you up about coming on, and I was like, hold on a minute.
I know, and it was like I never got that DVD for my showreel.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing in itself at the start, isn't it? And how many times does that happen? Oh, and then people hit you up, like, or you are hitting the direct. Oh, when are we going to see this? Like, how long is that? Because you're so enthusiastic at the start, you don't know about the turnaround, and that you can't really release that footage sometimes, and this and that, and. At the end of the day, that's mostly why you're doing it, other than experience, is because you want to get a decent showreel up-to-date thing. By the time it's done a festival run or come out and been edited, it's like a year or two ago, and now I've moved on and I've grown from there.
And the students have moved on, and it's like I actually rang a university in Melbourne once because of that, and I said, hey, if you want to keep on using the same really good actors, you need to kind of make it as part of your assessment or something, but you need to have a talk to your film students.
Yeah.
That's the thing about me being on both sides. When I went into film, I was very pro-actor.
Yeah.
And it's like we've got to it's got to be ingrained in the film schools, the respect for the actor.
Yeah.
And it's not the actor, the talent, or you don't talk about them, or, when they're sitting right there, use their name. Do you know what I mean? Even if you're not talking to them, but you're talking about them.
Yeah.
That's my big thing when I went in there, and I said, you've really got to, it's a collaborative thing. Actors has spent a lot of time on their craft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in building that respect and that collaboration was huge for me going into film school. I had this bee in my bonnet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, and I think I was a little guilty of that from the start too. I didn't realize, you don't know unless you do a lot of film school either. And for me, I didn't really go through film school. I did a lot of training, outside of it, but really I'm more hands-on. I just did films, which I still think is one of the better ways to do it. But obviously you learn all the things when you do film school as well, which is immensely useful completely useful for your skills and what you're doing and your trade. But yeah, it's I didn't at the start, I didn't realize until I started producing things, and you're like, oh, you really do see it from that side of things, you know, and you have a lot more respect for everyone else that on set. Not saying I didn't have respect at the start, but it's just,
you just didn't understand.
You don't know, you learn these things, you know, and like, it's like, why a director chooses to cut these scenes or cut this, and because of time constraints. And, you know, I remember when I was an actor, and even with like a real good friend of mine, I was pissed one time when I was on set and he like cut the scenes that we were going to do. And it was just, you know, strategically, it was just, we were running out of time and there was all these extras here and we had to get this, and this is the scene overall. It didn't make, but I remember I was like, I regret it, you know, like you regret things that you do. Like, but like, I was pretty annoyed about it because I was like, I'm the lead and I want to do this, you know, like, but it's, you know, because I was looking forward to doing that scene. I was just pumped for my thing, but you know, you get it after a while. You're like, oh, now I understand why he made that choice that he did. That's a good director that decides to do that in an economical basis of what you're trying to shoot, you know. It's
officially called killing your babies.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yeah.
You know, and they say like some editors like to go on set and they kind of say, don't go on set because you should not be worried about whether that helicopter shot cost, you know, $6,000 to do. If it doesn't serve the scene, cut it. You have to be able to cut it no matter how much it costs.
Yeah. It's got to hurt though too when you it's probably a big part of your budget doing that scene as well. Like,
but thank God for drones, right?
Yeah, it's a huge innovation, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of film school and stuff, so you work for Griffith Film School now here in Brisbane.
So for the last 3 years, I've been supervising. So in second year, the students do their first corporate.
Yeah.
So they're used to doing drama, and they're used to doing stuff that they've written, and they, you know, can fight amongst themselves about the artistic integrity of a shot or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you work for a client and a corporate, which let's face it, that's going to be your kind of
bread and butter.
Yeah,
when you're going to make any kind of money.
Yeah. You got to learn how to do that, and we put it into the curriculum so that by the time you leave, you've actually got that showpiece already on your resume,
smart,
you know? So I come in as a supervisor and take them through that, because some of them are really young and they're really freaked out by talking to grown-ups.
Yeah, that's fair.
And negotiating like, yes,
what
but we've only got 3 days to do this, so we really can't do a 30-minute, you know, just the whole negotiating and the paperwork that goes along with it, and the structure and the schedule, and what do I say to them, and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I do. And then I go out on set with them, partly for quality control. And also to assess them and blah, blah, blah. But I love it. It's like I get paid to go out on set and teach kids to make films. It's like, it's fun. I love it.
So when you say corporate, are they doing like promotional video, you know, for a client, and and meeting those expectations, and it can't always be about your creative integrity and what you're trying to do. You got to and because it's tough. I've been on those commercials where they have the I remember being on one instant scratcher commercial. I should probably watch what I say, some of these things. You do sign NDA agreements. No, but I just remember the clients being there, and we were having like a family dinner or whatever it was on a Sunday, and they kept changing out like the colors of the cloth over the tablecloth, you know, like, and then so when they changed the tablecloth, they had to change the settings of this and that. Then they were like, oh, do we need to change the actors? Like, you know, and it was going through that, and it was so funny. Like, they would set everything up, make it mint, you know, and it looked cool, and it would just change the whole vibe of it and everything. And then you just watch them when they had to finally then go back to the clients, and they're like, nah, maybe change it back to the one you had before. And like all that rigmarole, you know, and you could just see the people in the crew like wanting to go, oh, what the, you know, we can see what looks good on the camera, but you have to please the clients. But I was kind of blown away by that so like they didn't have the people they didn't trust them, it felt like, to do their creative vision. You know, they had to be there overseeing everything, although they don't even really know what the hell they're doing in the first place. Like, they're just like, you've got us to produce this product for you. You've given us the leadway and the blueprint of what you kind of want out of it. You like the concepts that we put forward. let us do our thing, you know,
Yeah.
because it can stifle your creativity and your freedom if you're like, oh shit, I've got to impress that person they're on set today, you know, or whatever. It's kind of weird to see. Yeah, I was kind of blown away by that. Like, I mean, obviously I was getting paid to be there, so I was just like, you know, this is sweet.
Okay,
you know, this is the
if we
life.
go overtime, fine. Yeah. No, but I do have to say that we work with nonprofit organisations, so we're not actually taking away like roles from the industry.
Okay,
because they're nonprofits don't have the
cool though.
money
You're giving back to
to be able to afford a promo anyway.
Yeah.
And because it's students, they can't expect, you know, they've got to have a certain expectation that it might not be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're getting something for free. But that's awesome to give back to the community too. And that's got to be, because I'm sure they build relationships from there too. And like, you don't know when you're going to get hired to do another gig down the track. So that's probably teaches them a good way to network at the start as well, you know, doing something like that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So are you doing that? So part-time basically?
Just part-time.
Kind of, yeah.
So
it's a cool part-time gig.
We actually do trimesters instead of semesters now. And part of this film school is going into intensive mode. So basically instead of 12 weeks, they've got like 4 weeks to do something. So the university is going through a change at the moment. So some of them I work every week, and then in October it's just going to be smashed because that's the intensive block of something else that I teach, which is the same thing, but it's for third years, and it's like bigger better clients, bigger production values, smaller teams. Because let's face it, when you go out, it's actually probably going to be 2 people doing the whole thing, because you can't afford to have a crew of 6. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'll have a director/producer, and you'll have a camera person who does everying, camera and lights and sound. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you might have a third person, an editor, but maybe the director edits as well. So you've got to learn to do all that with only 2 people. So that's what that subject is as well.
Cool.
So it's the same kind of thing.
So were they not doing that before? The corporate-y style, was it just all dramatic, you know, short films and things like that?
Oh, no, they've been doing that
they have been doing it. Okay,
it's actually I think the only university that does that kind of real world corporate kind of
You think it would be a no-brainer really to be teaching people that, right? And I'm sure it's probably not exactly why they come into school to learn how to do film, because they want to know how to do corporate videos. But that's like you say, it's your bread and butter. It's the same as an actor. The TV seasons is where you make the money until you're like a big star.
I know. It's like
it's the only place you make money really.
When you're in acting school, right? You go, I am never going to do a TVC. I am so above a TVC. And then you get 2 years out and it's like, just give me a TVC. It's $30,000. It'll keep me going for the next 6 months. Please give me a TVC.
It's kind of crazy, the money that they actually pay for some of them.
I know. So it's like,
Yeah, like that instant scratch at one. I got $5,500 for a day. I was like,
I know
what
someone
the
who
hell?
got $30,000 to be the solo man.
Solo man. Oh, yeah.
Gotta work it hard to be a solo man. Yeah.
Yeah. The soft drink. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, some of them, like, if you've got a speaking role and it's like I hear like Subway ones, you know, generally car ads or alcohol ads and stuff like that, they pay pretty well.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not like out of line to be getting paid like $15,000, to do like a Subway ad or whatever, or the speaking line or something like that. I'm just like, well,
I know.
Those ones, that would be awesome. But
voiceovers too. Voiceovers is really lucrative if you can get it.
They do, what you find with the voiceovers, they're always using the same people though too, right? And especially in Australia as well, you always see a lot of the same actors getting these commercial gigs or on these TV series. Like they're regurgitating like these same actors all the time.
That's why we got to make our own films.
It is 100%. And that's changing. It has been forever changing, especially with a lot more international productions coming like here in Sydney, Melbourne and stuff like that, especially now we're reaping the benefits of that
I know.
at the moment.
That's what I was like, that's the one blessing of COVID is like, I reckon this is my own personal thing, but we can be the next Hollywood.
Yeah, they've been.
Do you know what I mean?
Like I do. They've been saying that for a number of years though now. Since I feel like maybe they were getting like, like Pirates of the Caribbean, but probably before then they were like saying that the next holiday. I mean,
but now
to
that
a certain
COVID's
extent,
happened, we're the safest place.
I know. And there's a lot of great ones coming here. I mean, honestly, the only auditions that I've really been doing lately are for TV commercials or like a bit part in a TV series or a pilot, something like that, for like my agent, not I haven't done
Do you still do pilots, like self-tapes for pilots for overseas? Tell us about that, like the pilot season.
Yeah.
How does that work these days?
I don't really know if you can still say it's a season though, right? Because that used to be the thing. You would go to America, like, you know, when I first started out, I'd hear about this, you know, I'd never done it personally, but you would go over there for like a 2-3 month period or whatever. Maybe it would stretch out to 4 months or whatever at the start of the year. And it would be pilot season over there that you'd be getting prepared for and getting sent to all these like auditions all the time. And I feel like since I've been in the game, like, you know, self-tapes became a thing and then that was slowly happening. And now it's like the only thing almost that you're doing, especially since COVID, it's all friggin' self-tapes at home. So you got to be, you know, your own filmmaker, producer, you know, unless you go to somewhere else that are doing them, which more and more people are doing.
Yeah, but
it costs a lot of money. You know? Yeah, I know. And that's something once I set my studio up, which is close, that I'll be, you know, people that I'll help them out, let them go shoot, you know, do their self-tapes or whatever. I know there's a lot of actors I know that do make a little bit of money doing that. So I guess it's a side hustle, you know, if you're nifty, like with a little bit of editing, camera work, lighting, you can help people out a lot with that. And then people probably need it with the coaching, you know, a little bit of coaching can go so far. And like, especially having someone that if you need a reader, you know, someone to actually bounce off that's proper, like does well, it's, that's a huge thing in itself. And that could be the difference between getting the gig and not, you know, as well. So sometimes, you know, it's one of those, you know, heavy mediums, you weigh it up. Hey, what's it worth, that audition, that role or whatever. But you do get the odd audition. I can't say I have had a lot I've had a few for America. But mostly they would be American productions that are shooting here. That's what it mostly is, like the American productions or the overseas productions that have come here to shoot, and they're always American accent, if you know what I mean. So I get a lot of that. I've had a lot of that, you know, like say Young Rock that was here a little while ago, the Rock series, NBC I think it is. Had a couple auditions, bit parts in that, and like some of the other ones that have come along the way, I've done those ones. So that's more or less. So what did you want to know? Yeah, I've done
I just want to know if it's like still a thing.
Pilots. I don't know. They probably still talk about it in that regard, but I don't really think it. I don't know if it is, because now with streaming services and everything as well, now it's not really just about the networks, which is the beautiful thing. And it's amazing for people that love watching shows, you know, the content creators and the actors and the filmmakers. You know, it's just because there's more to do. There's more opportunities now. There's more roles for people. So it's amazing. But that's the turn that becomes so good for us, is to try and get work, you know, in any regard. But that's what I think was probably changed it, is because now that they shoot all the time and there's new shows being developed all the time, and there's incentives to create these new shows too by, you know, East Queensland, like, you know, a film like SEQ or whatever, you know, like they're funding things all the time. Screens Queensland. SQ. Queensland, who
are awesome, by the way. Like, I reckon they're like, okay, I live in Queensland, but, you know, they have a lot of initiatives and they are really super, super supportive. Like, there's ride initiatives for diversity. They do, there's actually something with Netflix, and it might be Netflix and Screen Australia, but so that they're trying to reach out to broaden,
I see the things come through on social media quite a bit for different things. They definitely, obviously the diversity thing gets pushed a lot these days, which is great.
I actually got what's called SQ Hub. So for the last 2 years, I've got it actually, and it's
it emails it through to you when they have.
No. It's a residency. So 15 filmmakers or gaming. They're into games and supporting people who do games as well, because they're amazing. So it's called SQ Hub. So it's just across the hall from the Screen Queensland offices, and basically you get office space, subsidised office space, and you also get mentorship with a business development and all their workshops for the year for free. So it's kind of like it's a residency. So I've had that for 2 years now. This year I was a virtual resident, so I didn't actually use the office space. But I got all the other kicks, you know, and that's been amazing, because you kind of put that on a resume. go, oh, well, you're kind of the under-screen Queensland's wing. You know, they know who you are and they're looking at what you're doing.
So they're helping you develop content, or they're just...
So they have a business manager who knows about the industry, film industry, and they help you. They go, okay, what are your goals? Like, are you just wanting to work freelance for someone else, or are you wanting to develop your own business as a film production company? And so because, you know, we're creators, we haven't been told how to run a business.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we're all these, and me, it's like, oh, I just want to be creative. I don't care about the money, you know, and then years on you go,
you need to get paid. Yeah.
I really need to pay my rent. So maybe I will look at this business model thing, you know. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So how do you get involved in that?
They just put a call out and you apply for it.
You apply for it. Yeah.
The only way to know about it is you just subscription to their newsletter. Same with Screen Australia and Screen Queensland.
It's like when gigs come up for like crew opportunities and stuff. Like I get a lot of that stuff come through. Although I'm a little like, you know, I respect and I love what they're trying to do, but I'm a little skeptical on some of those things that come through because...
Why?
Well... Because I've talked to a lot of people on cruise sets and stuff like that, and I've never really known anyone to get any gigs through those sites and stuff. And I know you apply for them, and I know part of the funding that they get from Queensland or the tax incentive that they get from bringing their productions here, they have to have a certain amount of people that work here locally, like on their roles, or they have to give them the opportunity to ask them. And I have heard that sometimes, and I'm not saying it's just them because I know there's a lot of other bodies that do this, but like they just put it out there to put it out there, and it's basically going to a burn email account and no one's really getting contacted from there.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So
this
from
is just
my point
speculation,
of view, there's two things. There's a tax incentive, and which is why Australia and Queensland looks so good, is because we get this 40% rebate.
Yeah.
So basically, we already have 40% of the budget. When we put our tax in, we get that back.
Yeah.
So that's producers' payday, basically, and that's what makes it lucrative. So that's one thing. Another thing is if your budget is like, say, over 200 grand, right? You have to have an attachment.
Yeah.
Like it's mandated. There has to be an attachment. So it could be, but it's not acting, it's the film industry. So it could be an editing attachment or a director's attachment or something like that. And then if the budget goes up, then you have to have 2 attachments or 3 attachments. So they are legit roles that are legit paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you put in a budget for Screen Queensland or Screen Australia, you have to pay the standard industry rates. And that's why it's interesting, but that's why budgets that get funding are actually much higher than just an indie budget because you do mates rates, right?
Yeah, okay.
You can't do mates rates when you go for funding.
Yeah.
So there are roles, but the majority of crew is who you know. Yeah, so it goes back to the networking thing. So these are some opportunities for other people, but you have to be known. You have to turn up to workshops, they've got like coffee days once a month.
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to say. I have seen those pop up on Facebook. They're always, I'm working full time.
It's mostly for the film
hard.
industry, but, you know, there's nothing to stop an actor from going there and just saying, oh, I'm just wondering what's out there, just wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah, I see the things pop up on Facebook and people go in there and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. I would, don't get me wrong, I'd love to go to them. They're always during the day when I'm working full time, so I haven't been able to go do it, but I'm sure it's a great networking opportunity and to learn how they do it. But that's really cool what they're doing with the...
Maybe, you know, so the QSC, which is the Queensland Screen Collective.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember if I finished my story about that, but it was born out of COVID. I reckon it would be a good idea to have a night where we invite actors.
Yeah.
Because it's a great way to network, find new actors for our projects and for actors to start making relationships with filmmakers. Yeah. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
I'm on the committee. I can tell them.
I think that's a great idea. Fantastic.
Done.
Do it. Well done. But yeah, no, so that's really cool. And I like what they said about the hub thing that you're going on about. That sounds like a really great opportunity for people as well. So that's cool that they're really doing their thing. I've just always wondered about those emails that come through, for the crew opportunities, because I've applied for a few of them as well myself. But I'm like, why not? If it's something, it might be a chance, then I'll put it through, because I've personally...
I do know people that have got them, like personal peer colleagues.
Cool.
So I would... I don't want to burst your bubble, but, so it would be... I think, this is only my personal opinion, I think it would be someone who is probably an emerging, like it would be someone like me who's been out of film school for a couple of years and made some stuff. And I would be more likely to get a producer's attachment.
Or, for sure.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's what my body of work says. So, and it's totally highly competitive, but somebody's got to get it. And I do know people who have got those
that's good. That's good to know. Yeah. No, I talked to a few people, like crews that I've been on some of those TV series or the film stuff, and they're like, I don't know anyone that's got them. And I'm like, oh, well, you got to be in it to win it, so you got to try. But I just thought it was interesting, and I did wonder, because I have heard rumblings of different things, about that.
Everybody's got their own
Everybody's got an opinion, So no, it's good to ask someone else, that's in a little more.
Me, I prefer to be positive.
For sure.
Like there is a lot of negativity out there saying, oh, the funding agencies, they just hire these. And,
you do hear a lot about that,
And it's like, man, just keep your bad vibes over here, because me, I'm in a good position. I think they do a great job. I've got a good relationship with them. I'm just keeping my good vibes over here, okay?
No, I agree. No, it's cool. It's interesting to ask you about that then, Because you wonder, but you do hear a lot of things, and like I'm still, you got to be, like I said, you got to be in it to win it, so you might as well try. It's not like I'm skeptical, but I'm not skeptical. I'm just curious, how it all goes. I'm still putting my name out there because,
Also, they're not going to. They may. Depends on your background. I don't know. But you're less likely to get it if it's your first time that there's like, who is this person? I don't know.
Oh, do you know what I mean? For sure. Yeah.
What have they done?
For me, I've done like on that side of things, like, because I would like to, I'm really trying a lot to get out of my 9 to 5, if you know what I mean, and into the industry or like I'm actually applying for like radio gigs and stuff at the moment.
Cool.
So that's what I'm sort of going through.
Have you got a demo?
Well, I've got things from the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm sort of running with. But you need a couple of
different reads more than the podcast.
Yeah.
You need to show variety.
Reads of what?
Of different stuff, of what. Is it for radio announcing specific, like a morning show or an after show?
That's what I would like to get on. They've got what do they call it? Ear checks is what they've been asking for. Like I
What's
applied.
That?
That's your little body of work. Okay. But they don't want much. They only want a few minutes. They don't want. They're not going to go through it. But like recently, I did something up for SCA Hubble. So SCA is like all the B105 stations, Triple M, Channel 10, 7. They run like a media conglomerate kind of thing, So, which is cool for me. Obviously, I do acting and all this other stuff on the side. So, but I strategically did it when they asked for like clips of what I did. I put them on, like I reloaded like certain ones on Vimeo just to see if they've watched them, if you know what I mean, on private things. And they haven't. But what came up a couple of weeks later was Triple M recently. Now, at the moment, they're actually wanting radio personalities for all of their cities they're asking for. So they're obviously doing a clean out, and I'm guessing they're not quite hitting the numbers of certain things, and some other radio stations are better at the moment, so they're trying to do something different. So they're asking for everyone in all major cities. So I'm currently doing that up and just going to put something and see what happens, Like you got to be in it to win it. So
I did 2 radio announcing courses in my gap year from
you're a good person to talk to right now.
I thought, I want to be a radio now. That was a legitimate thing for me back then. And so I did, like, a paid course.
Yeah.
And so they teach you how to do different reads and teach you how to read the news and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then I joined my local, like, free-to-air, community radio.
Yeah, which is where I've heard you kind of got it. It used to be the way to start, yeah.
Yeah, so I think I didn't follow that path, even though I did the course and I did really well and I did the advanced course and stuff, is that at that time, and it may be true, I don't know, it's been a long time, but you had to kind of do your time in rural radio.
Yeah,
and I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So that went by the by.
Yeah.
But so to me, I would say if you wanted to do radio, I would join a local radio station and actually get some hours up so you learn how to do the desk, even though somebody, if you're a radio jock, you're probably not doing
that's
totally.
what I thought. But that was the old school way of doing it, right? You kind of controlled it and you did a lot of stuff yourself,
but I think somebody else does the desk while you're doing the,
that would make sense,
thing. But think from their point of view, somebody who, sorry, string talking, I'm going to be straight with you now.
I get it. No. I like straight. No. I think I know what you're saying.
Somebody who's done a podcast as to somebody who's spent time in a radio station and done everything and knows how it all works. And
they're going to look at them first.
Because they have to also do commercial reads if you during their, on, sponsorship things. And I had to also learn how to do a live newscast, so report an accident that had happened kind of thing. So it's the full training, and like you'd be great at improv because you're acting and stuff.
Yeah.
But compare that resume to someone who's done a podcast, even though you're great at it and you can totally tell that you'd be really good.
Yeah.
And I reckon you'd be hit that demographic of what they'd want, but you just have to make your resume look
that's
shiny.
where I understand, and that's why I kind of applied for the that one that I was saying before, because they control, like they actually like do paid, they have their paid podcasts they do, as well as all their radio people basically have podcasts that are through their network and everything as well. That's what, and they obviously want presenters and things like this and all these other things. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to send that out there because I know I've got experience in certain fields, that they could be attracted to them. But
okay, I'll tell you. So one of the other top 3 kisses, right? He, so only he will know, but he started doing street team for a radio station, and now he's got some on-air stuff. So he was, really lively, happy, like really people person. And so he did his time with the street team and then kind of
that's what
went
I've
in
heard.
from that.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah. One of those did come up recently as well. I was very, very close to putting in for that. And I thought that would be a good way to get the in. Something else came up at the time, so I sort of went down that road with it. But that was my thought process as well, and what I've heard from people as well. That's how they sort of got into it.
It's kind of like being a coffee boy, and
and
then working your way up.
You got to start somewhere, but that's it. But why the opportunities come up to apply, I'm still going to apply for it regardless why I go through the process of building up my credentials, a bit better for it. But
it's kind of like I would love to do voiceover work, right?
Yeah.
So I did a voiceover course like years and years ago, but I never did a demo. And now I can't remember what I learned. So it's something on my to-do list that I would like to do another course, do the demo, and then
which is a good avenue to go down. And there's a lot of there's more and more animated productions these days and things like that.
That's one of my bucket lists, to do an animated character. I'd totally love to do that.
Yeah, you see the odd one come through, like Star Now and stuff like that from international things, but there's very few far between. And animated, I mean, like they made that Bluey show here in Brisbane, and geez, that's huge now, huge in America, everywhere, like worldwide. So they're cash.
I know a couple of people in that.
I bet you
good
do.
friend of mine, one of the people who does the money kind of thing. When I was starting out, and I still kind of just call them every so often and go, I've got this budget question, can you? And they help me,
Yeah.
So that's the other thing is finding mentors.
Yeah.
It's not just networking, but also finding mentors that can help.
Yeah.
And so WIFT Women in Film and Television have a once a year mentor program where they match up female filmmakers with other female, like who are, a step above them kind of thing to help them out. So there's those kind of things that happen as well. So maybe you might like the work of some particular person is in the realm that you want to work in.
Yeah.
Then they would be a good person to connect with. And then over time you go, hey, I'd love you to be a mentor. Like just, if I have a question every 3 months or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
That's another way to kind of get in.
Yeah. I mean, my main thing is like, I want to keep going with this, like, and build this up, like the podcast. Like
So what is it, the podcast on at the moment? I don't know how it works.
Every platform. Yeah.
How does it?
So basically it's on, so we've obviously got the video version on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I feel, because you like to kind of see and feel the people's relatability and see that they're real, but when you talk for the amount of time that we do, then you can't really hide being fake. So that's a great option. But so the audio platforms like Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, all of them. So basically got all the audio gear. The audio gear is number one really to get the quality out. You want at least like 85%, in my opinion, to obviously 100 being ideal, but that's studio circumstance. But you can get it pretty damn on the money with if you have a good sound engineer, which I do. Yeah. That tweaks it down the track. But basically you get a hosting platform. So mine's with Podbean at the moment. Okay. So you get whatever you're hosting, you find out which membership or whatever works for you. And so you upload it to there. At the moment, and it's forever changing and it probably will change, but iTunes have got a monopoly on the system because they were one of the first ones in.
Yeah.
So iTunes is now Apple Podcasts, but
how do you get on that?
Also, they all run through iTunes, and then from iTunes it goes out to the rest of them. What? So they've got a bit of a monopoly on that, but it's forever changing, and they are starting to screw it down a little bit, so you don't have the reach that you once had before. But that's forever changing. But basically, you have your hosting platform, you upload the audio file there, you have your thumbnails, your write-ups, your links, whatever you want to do. Yeah. And then so you upload it to that, and then you hit go live, and you link up, for example, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them coming on now.
Yeah, right.
Amazon, they're all getting one. Yeah. And so then it distributes that out to all the different platforms. And then people that want to check it out or have notifications on, please subscribe. They get a notification, they see it, it pops up on there, and there it goes. Like, so it's kind of going out in a uniform basis once you have it from that hosting platform. So that's where you do it. And then obviously you just upload it to YouTube, the video version. You basically, if you want to keep it uniform, which you should, you get everything the same, and you put it on there on YouTube the same with the links and everything like that. So
do you know how to monetize it? Like how many subscribers do you need before a platform? Like how does that work?
Well, good question. It's one of those things where, so like, I know you can monetize through the hosting platform, they can run ads through your thing if you want to monetize on that option, but you got to pay a lot more to get on that kind of subscription base. There's that way, which you deal with them, and then you probably got, I'm not exactly sure how many views or subscribers you need for their one to work in that regard. Then you've got like your own paid advertisements where people are either hitting you up or you go out and talk to them about, a lot of them's like Manscaped, I don't know if you heard of those. And when it first started out, it was like, like sex toys and fleshlights, and that they were like sponsoring podcasts. But now it's like everything, because it's the media
podcasts are like,
well, this is what I was getting to. Podcasts are the media of the future, like other than streaming services and everything like that. Yeah. To be honest, radio is a dying art form. It's always going to be there, terrestrial radio, because for everyone, the oldies that like to click it on and don't have the apps and don't want to deal with all that. Yeah. But podcasts take it over. There's no hiding it when you've got people that are the main personalities on radio stations have podcasts for a reason. They're having their own podcast networks for a reason because it's the most popular media. You hit it on at any time. It's pre-recorded, it's done, or some of them do it live and it's there ready to go.
I listen to it in the car when I'm driving
every day.
I never put on the radio.
It's taken over all my media now. I barely listen to music. Always in the car, at work if I get away with it, and when I'm in the gym. I'm almost dropping dumbbells on myself because I'm laughing at some of the comedy podcasts that I listen to. And people are like, what are you doing, man? You got this stupid grin on your face. I'm like, oh man, podcast. Like think that you're like looking at them laughing or something. But and so you can, so you approach a lot of CBD companies are huge on podcasts, things like that.
What's CBD?
CBD is amazing, and it's something that I've got on to, and it's really helped me because I'm a hands-on tradesman. And CBD is like, it's from like the marijuana plant, but it's non-psychoactive. So THC is the molecule that's in it that's psychoactive, and CBD is all the good stuff in the plant, basically. Well, CBD is an extract off the plant, and then there's like there's a few different chemical compounds that go, not really bad chemicals, they're just chemical compounds because everything's made up of that, obviously. There's other things in the plant that are really healthy for you as well, but it's like extracted and put into like a capsule, a gummy bear or things like that. What does it do? Basically, it reduces inflammation in the body and a little bit of anxiety, is what I've found and what they advertise, basically. So there's different strengths of it. For example, I have some in the cupboard. I've got some coming from America because that's where I personally get it from, even though you're not really supposed to be able to get it in the country.
Really?
Technically speaking, but you can get it from your doctor now. You can get medical marijuana from I've got friends that get weed off doctors. Like that, it's a medical marijuana. I know,
it's so weird.
It's a bit of an innovation, but you can also get CBD like that as well.
I remember when I went to America, like this wasn't a thing. This wasn't even invented yet.
No, not then,
I just saw all these green, the plus sign that means first aid kind of thing. And there was all these green ones
Is that
all
like
over
FDA
the place.
approved or something, or like approved by whatever,
And I went, I did not know, but now I know what the green ones.
They have like, marijuana stores and stuff like that over there, which is good because it's like regulated to a certain point. So a lot of like when they grow, like on the side, like whatever, like whoever does it, like you can spray a lot of chemicals to help them grow and make them do this and that. So then they have like chemicals or pesticides or whatever into the actual wet, and then you're inhaling it and stuff like that, and it's not good for you. Yeah. And it can enhance the buzz or whatever. You can spray, you can do a whole lot of things with it all. And I'm no scientist, I just know a little bit about it, but it's just, and then people can get really sick or whatever from it or what have you, and so if you're getting it that way, at least it's regulated to a certain point. They get their tax off it, they're happy, the government, and you're getting a good product. And there's it's a huge industry over there now, and you've got so many athletes and sports stars getting into it, especially with the CBD as well. They all have it. It's like regulated now. It's just some parts of the world are a little slow to adopt. I believe now in Australia you can actually get CBD in certain pharmacies, which is something that I've heard. I don't exactly know which ones because I want to probably look into it now because I get it from America and it costs quite a lot in packaging and stuff, and obviously with the dollar difference. But in my humble opinion and what I've experienced for myself, it is hugely beneficial. I used to get I deal a lot with suspension mechanic and set up wheel lumps, things like that. I'm always gripping a spanner day in, day out, really hard adjustments that are hard to undo, that are seized up, and then I'm putting with all my strength to try and get undone. So I'm squeezing on that spanner all the time. Over the years and years, my hands hurt. My hands literally hurt even when I'm not gripping anything. It could be early onset. Yeah, well, it's like overuse or like repetitive use can be like a little, maybe arthritis a little bit. Anyway, my knuckles and my hands started to hurt. Like even when I wasn't at work, it felt like I'm gripping the spanner, or I have like sometimes I just lose all strength in the hand or whatever. Yeah. And I was just like, fuck. So a couple of years ago, I was sort of having this happen a little bit. I'm like, man, I knew I needed to get out anyway. I wanted to get out of the industry for other reasons, obviously, but I knew for my body holding up, it would be good too.
I know. It's terrible when you get to that age.
Yeah, it is when you have to consider it, right? I'm young and invincible. But so I started to have that, and then I heard about all the CBD. I was like, you know what? Let me give it a try. Yeah. And so I'm only getting a little 25 milligram cap capsules of just a CBD isolate, basically. So it's just CBD. I've had other ones. They have so many different blends. You can get it in bath soap. You can get it in cream to rub onto you.
What?
But it really did work for me. So within a few months, as soon as I took the first one, after about 10 minutes, I did feel like a little bit, a little bit of just a little bit of that anxiety, just a little bit of relief. I would say, 10% just off the bot a little bit, but the inflammation in your body, because I work out a decent amount, and if it's sore and stiff and whatever else, that reduced a little bit, but my hands fucking went away. Yeah. The soreness in my hands went away. And and I don't even know, I couldn't exactly pinpoint it, but it wasn't far in between, like a month or two. It actually reduced that inflammation, I think, in my knuckles and my hands. And you could say and argue and play devil's advocate whether are you dependent on that? Like, is it just because it's taken it away? Do you have to keep doing it? Well, I'll say I've had times where I've ran out and it's taken a while because of COVID. It takes an extra amount of time now to get in in the country and stuff. And I've recently just had that, which is very frustrating, that it got stuck in Germany. I don't even know why it got sent to Germany, because it's never done that before. It was a stuff up and they're like, oh, do you want to reimburse some money, or we'll send you out? No, just send it out. I'll just wait another 6 weeks for it to come. So I've ran out at the moment. So that's an issue. Yeah. So I went to New Zealand and to see my family. I didn't want to take it over because you can't really take it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Is my knuckles going to start hurting when I'm over there? Okay, so it was all right because I wasn't really working out and I wasn't working. Yeah. So recently I've actually ran out because of that shipment not getting here. Yeah. And it's just slowly started to, just little bits I've started to, like, I can just, feel it, just my hands a little bit. It's not as bad as what it was. It's not, anything like that. I've just felt like when I knew it was on set of slightly something's feeling a bit funny and coming on. So because I'm still working there full time and training all the time as well, gripping the dumbbells really hard, things like that. So I'm interested to see how long that's going to last, because I've basically ran out now. So I'm screwed.
Well, it's an experiment, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's why. And so I keep check of that in my body and mind. And I feel like that's something that I, keep in line, like with everything in the way that I'm feeling, that I try to so I can realize what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. It's all a learning curve with it. But I think it's pretty amazing and it's great stuff. And I would recommend it to anyone, which I do because it helped me. So I wouldn't recommend it if it didn't do anything for me. So I'm not saying every time, like, it's not a fucking magic cure. I think it's going to fix everything straight away. But if you keep consistently taking, I think it will help you overall. And I tried to help it with my mom because she's got a few injuries and stuff like that as well. But it's like, oh, it's what it doesn't do what it did at the start. And I'm like, well, you got to kind of keep doing it, Mum. Like, you can't just think it's a magical, I'm just like, well, okay. But anyway, so but that's a big advertisement. So when you have a popular podcast, I feel, for me, like, I don't want to put ads in the face of people, because I get frustrated when I listen to my podcast and I fast forward through the ads or whatever. Sometimes they do, like the comedians I listen to, they do entertaining and funny, like, riffs in between it with what they're trying to advertise, which makes it even better. Most of the time I fast forward through them though too anyway. But you can do it that. So once you have a popular podcast and you've got a decent amount of download streams, whatever you want to call it, subscribers, you can approach people to do it, or people will approach you to put them on. So that's basically how you make kind of money. And what they do with that is they're advertising, like the comedians, they're advertising their dates and everything. So as they see the revenue, people start getting to know them personally. They feel like, like attached to them a little bit, they like what they're about, they want to go see them. So that's where, like, the ticket sales, that's where they redeem it, if you know what I mean, as well as, like, you're getting paid for a certain amount of streams of views or whatever, or you have advertisement. So that's kind of how you monetize off the podcast. For me, this one is still, I don't want to do that to people. I don't like them too much. I'll do it when I believe in the product. Like, I'd have a CBD sponsor, maybe some sort of whiskey sponsor or something, something that I believe in, whatever that I want to advertise. That's what I would put in there. I don't want to bombard people with that yet. I don't feel like I'm at a position with this to do that yet. In the near future, maybe, who knows? Like, with me putting more episodes out, more content, once I got the studio very soon, then I can be able to do that. So maybe soon I'll be in that position. But for me, it's still finding out what it is, this podcast, and still attracting people in. And I haven't, like, gone and slammed it in people's face. I put it on social media so people can aware that I'm doing this thing, and if they want to check it out, they check it out, but I'm not a marketing whiz or anything. That's something down the track that I'm going to have to talk to someone that's a bit more educated on that to start getting a bit more. I've been contacted by Facebook actually because I didn't even have a Facebook page, and I recently made it up. I didn't really want to go down that road again. So you know what it's like when you first start an actor, you have an acting page, you have this and that. You're putting it on your personal goddamn page anyway. You're just double dipping every time by posting it. People get sick of it.
Like, this is a question for actors, right? Because I'm almost at 5,000, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's at 5,000
there's not many more
that you have to make a public page, right?
Or delete people, yeah.
How do you get all your people to go to your public page? It's like starting again.
Apparently, there's a little cheap way of doing that, and that's how you
just converts you.
You can just I think when you get to a certain point, or you can just do it anyways. You can actually just switch that to a business account, I think, and cheatingly, everyone that's friends with you is just all of a sudden now one of your followers, and then you make another personal account or whatever. But people click onto that pretty quickly, I think, and they're like, oh, what the hell? And you'll probably lose friends pretty quickly. Possibly. I've heard that I think I've had a friend that did it that way, which I didn't know about. Otherwise, you have that account and you invite people to go and like your page, right?
A lot of people to invite.
So that's basically. But I do understand. I have heard someone of doing that, switching it over somehow, and it just changed to a like page, and then they made another personal account with their friends and their family like close by it, because it starts to get out of control, as you can see with 5,000 on people. But to be honest, the way the algorithms and everything work now, which is the thing, is that you really don't see much of what you know, unless you interact with the people, it doesn't pop up on your feed, which pisses me off, to be honest, because I used to like it when you could scroll down and you going through and you're seeing people that you haven't seen for ages, you know, and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. And if you're like me and you don't really go on too much anymore, when they changed these algorithms was a point where I took a step back for a little bit, as I spoke about before, just to get myself right, you know, and inject back into the game. I stopped putting everything out there like I was, and then slowly you like fall out of the algorithms. And now I'm going to see my mum's stuff or my sister, you know, like just certain people that you'd interact with or just close friends. That's all you're seeing at the top of your feed all the fucking time. And I'm really sick of social media, so I don't really go on too much anymore. And I don't really want to swipe through. Like, I'm just seeing the same shit all the time. And the same, and then Instagram has adopted the same thing, because I think Facebook owns Instagram anyway. So it's the same, you know. And I used to enjoy that's where my feed started. I go down through and because I wanted to, you know, give everyone some love, you know. And now you just see the same thing. I'm like, I'm over it. Yeah. So I don't know who these algorithms work for.
And I see a whole lot more ads in my feed.
Yeah. That's the other huge thing.
That's half of my feed.
Instagram never used to have it. Now they do. Yeah. And, they have done for a while, and now it's everywhere. And you're speaking into your goddamn phone. I bet you now you're going to have podcast stuff probably pop up on your phone. Because that's what happens. It's crazy. They listen all the time. But now Facebook is just huge. Yeah.
I don't know if people know about it if you're not in the social media game, but it's literally called a pixel. And what happens is it's this thing that follows you around. You know, like if you look at the latest Panasonic camera, right? You're just doing a Google because you want to know what the latest one is. You then suddenly see, when you're on Facebook, ads from the exact same camera. You go over to YouTube, which you didn't even search for that camera on YouTube, but you will see feeds of that particular camera.
Yeah.
And it's a way that it follows you around and feeds you what you've been looking for.
Yeah.
So scary.
I know. It's crazy. But that's what I mean, even in the extent that you're not even searching for it, you're just talking about it with someone, and all of a sudden it's listening, and then you go on to Instagram and it's on there. And it's happened to me heaps. It happens to everyone. Like, people talk about it all the time now. It's kind of crazy and kind of scary at the same time.
That they're listening?
All the time. All right, man, someone's watching. It's kind of freaky. It's kind of freaky. But so that's basically how you do it. But for me, like, as I say, I like radio. I still want to work it. Like, I think it would be a good thing for me. It's just another avenue. Like, I want to get out of my full-time job and into more creating, which is obviously what we do as creators. We would love to do that. And there's a lot of avenues you can go down. For me, independent podcasts are the one, because that's how a lot of people are doing really well off these things, you know. When they've got a niche, you know, and now every man and his dog has it. Like, I started a bit before it was a thing in Australia. in New Zealand and stuff, but it wasn't huge. It was starting to really come on, but it was still not a lot of people heard it. Now, like, you know, like since probably, you know, about a year ago when the pandemic, every man and his dog had a podcast. Yeah. There was one, I can't even remember what the numbers are now. We've spoken about it before, but at one point there was like maybe like 800,000 podcasts or something in the world, and now it's like, you know, it's millions now. Like it's just like every third person's got a podcast in America, basically, especially since the pandemic and they had nothing to do. Yeah. But people don't last, as I found out, and as you know, it's a lot of work to do these, and I wanted to do them a lot more frequently. I will, but then I soon realized that there's a lot of work in behind it, and making and getting up to a certain quality that you want to keep putting out there as well, and that I think the listeners deserve to see and hear. Yeah. And so that's the thing, you know, and then we just step it up once we get things, you know, once you keep streamlining everything to run a bit smoothly. Yeah. And it's just about finding the time to get it done and do it. Yeah.
I know, you have to be so uber motivated. It's like, it's like a YouTube channel. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's just, it's another media outlet, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so that's it. And so you can, people are doing really well off some of the podcasts, you know. It's but for every person that's doing really well, there's like the acting game. There's a lot of people that aren't and will give up. Basically, it will weed it out eventually. Yeah, and the main thing is, if
you just got to stick with it.
Consistency. Consistency is all it is. And I will apologise because I'm a week later getting this one out, so this one's going to come out real fast.
But we were in lockdown. Come on, give yourself a break. That's what I said to you. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to, because I didn't want to do another solo one. So I did the last episode I did was a solo one, and I really don't normally do them. I love doing it. I don't mind talking to people for an hour or so or whatever, but. You know, this show's about, I'm having people on to have a conversation about what they're doing, you know, and we have a conversation about everything, you know, we go to and fro, and it's great like that. It's free form. But yeah, I had to, you know, I want to keep consistent with it. But yeah, we got into lockdown for several weeks in a row, and it was a very strict one this time. And that's why we couldn't have guests on. And I didn't want to do a back-to-back solo one. I really didn't. So have you thought about a Zoom?
Yeah.
Zoom podcast?
I don't like it. I don't like listening to the Zoom podcasts because they're disconnected, to be honest. Like, it's just so much better to have a person sitting opposite you right now, locked in with the microphone and headphones, and you're just in the conversation, right?
Yeah.
How long do you think we've been going for right now?
I don't know. I'd probably say over an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, you're pretty good then. Yeah, almost 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was thinking, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah. And see how quickly it went through? Yeah. Didn't even have
But we had a lot to talk about. It's been a few years.
Yeah. But there's so many more things that we could keep bringing up. But it's just, that's how long you can go for. And that's the best part about it. You don't come in with a set interview, because I feel like interview is just such an archaic way of getting information out of someone and trying to drill them to get this or that. Let them free talk and talk about the things that they want to do. And you can see the passion and the realism come through with people. And that's the best thing about this. It's the special thing about it, and you can tell that it's real. You know, you can see it, you can hear it, you can't fake it. But that's the best thing I think about the podcast and about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So thanks for coming on, Bobbi-Lea.
No worries.
It's been awesome to catch up. I will have to run this back again when your documentary is in the free flow of things, and you can actually tell us what's going on.
Yeah.
But all the best with it. You know, I really hope it comes out there, and when you're ready to share, you know, your struggles and everything that's gone on with it, I'm really interested to watch it and hear about it, and wish you all the success with it.
Thank you.
And everything you're doing.
And you too.
Thank you. Until next time. Righto, guys, that's us. We're out.